Many of you know that I often ask questions in my sermons that I invite you all to kind of respond to, think about, and share. And believe it or not, I try to be very careful with the questions that I ask. And one is to make sure that I don't get put on the spot too much, but also to make sure that I don't get taken too far afield off topic. It does not always work. Once at my last church, I asked what I thought was a pretty safe question. I invited the congregation to respond to the question, what is something you are sure of? Simple, right? Safe, right? I'm thinking someone might say that they're sure that gravity exists. Or maybe that they are sure that they love their kids. Instead, a guy who rarely shared spoke up. This cardiologist raised his hand. I was like, yes, Dwayne. And he said, I am sure I'm going to die. Whew. I was not expecting nor ready for that. And yet he isn't wrong, is he? Death is a certainty, maybe even more so than taxes. So maybe All Saints Sunday might be as good a time as any to talk about our lives in light of death and where we might find hope and meaning in our baptisms, in our faith, and in our churches. Today we intentionally remember and worship people who have been baptized this year and loved ones who have passed away this year. And at first, it might seem like the baptisms are the happy part, right? And it might sound like the deaths are the sad part. And yet, I'm not so sure that we can divide or divorce our deaths from our baptism, or our baptisms from our deaths. I wonder if they are linked, indivisible, like two sides of the same coin. When we are baptized, we are under the same sure sentence that my cardiologist friend Dwayne brought up. Baptism does not inoculate us from suffering, sickness, heartbreak, or ultimately death. And yet I wonder if baptism provides a crucial measure of hope in the midst of our disappointments, in the midst of the difficulties of our lives. Our baptisms, whether yesterday, whether last week, or 80 years ago, give us a tangible, concrete sign of our belovedness and our belonging to our God. Baptism is a free gift of grace from God that cannot be lost nor taken away. Christians that also happen to be Lutherans believe that only one baptism is necessary for salvation. This is because we understand God as being the actor and author of baptism, not humans and our fallible beliefs and understandings. What God has done, what God has given, we cannot undo. Whether it was in a Lutheran church or at a Baptist tent revival, whether you were dipped, sprinkled, or dunked, whether you were a baby and don't remember, or whether you were an adult and remember like it was yesterday, your baptism means that you are claimed, loved, forgiven, gifted, and saved by our God. And yet, baptism doesn't just connect us to our God. Our baptisms connect us to each other. In our baptisms, we are joined to the story of Jesus Christ. We are joined to the story of Jesus' church and to something infinitely bigger than ourselves. Our gospel lesson from Luke, the one I read out of the Bible, not the one that's printed in your bulletin, tells us about some of the groups of people our God is very concerned about. Jesus says God is concerned about people who are poor, people who are hungry, people who are crying and mourning, people who are oppressed, people who are persecuted. Our baptisms connect us to those who have more than us and less than us, and reminds us that we are connected to each other and responsible for each other, right here and right now. This is why it has been important for the church and Christians across the centuries to give and work for programs that help people who are poor, people that are hungry, and people who lack justice and respect in their lives. Our baptisms provide purpose to our daily lives as we strive to live in ways that reflect God's kingdom, on earth as it is in heaven. And I want to end with maybe the most difficult aspect of baptism to explain or prove or make any sense of. As I said earlier, we are not baptized Lutheran. We are not baptized Catholic. We are not baptized Methodist. We are not baptized to a specific church like St. Peter's. We are baptized into the church. Therefore, we are connected to baptized believers who have died before us and to the baptized saints who come after us. There is hope in the realization that our loved ones are not gone forever. That our loved ones, their deaths, that our deaths are no longer the end. Each week we say the Apostles' Creed, where we confess that we believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, and the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. What is this communion of saints thing? What does that mean? What does it look like? I'll be honest, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. But I may have gotten a glimpse yesterday. Yesterday I officiated at the funeral of a dear college friend of mine. She died last week at 41. And at the end of the service, her dad got up to give a final blessing. He's a stronger person than I could ever be. And before delivering it, he told the gathered family to keep talking to his daughter. Not praying to her, right? Not asking for her help, but just keep talking to her. To realize that she still is, she still exists, and we are still connected through our baptisms in Jesus Christ. I wonder if this is the hope. I wonder if this is the good news, the gospel for us on All Saints Sunday. That not even death will separate us from the love of God and from our family and friends. I wonder if our baptisms give us the permission to keep talking to our loved ones who have gone before us. To continue being inspired by the actions of those who died before us. To be supported through our trials by the faith that they evidenced and lived while still alive. This is the gift of hope that we are given in our baptisms and reminded on days like All Saints. There is something bigger than ourselves. There is something more than what we can see and touch. It's evidenced in the flickering of candles, in a splash of water at the baptismal font, a bite of bread, a sip of wine, a refrain of a hymn. We are connected to all the saints here and in heaven through our baptisms forever and for all time. I want to end, my niece sent me, she's 10, and she sent me a text on the way to the funeral yesterday. My friend lost, my friend that died, she had 3 kids, 13, 11, and 9. And Maddie says to her, she says, "Uncle Jimmy, please tell the kids that I know it's really hard to lose somebody you love. But they don't want you to be sad because they will always be with you." The gospel according to a 10-year-old. Thanks be to God and amen.
Amen.